Welcome back to the channel, friends. This is Kat Canada. Thank you in advance to those who subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, leave a comment, and share the video with friends and family. Today, I'm talking to Frances Widdowson about the 215 narrative that came out of Kamloops that's not backed by any substantial evidence, and one might say that's not even backed by any evidence whatsoever. Frances joins me now. Frances, thank you so much for joining me to talk about this today.
Thank you for having me on the program.
So, this is such an important issue that we cannot get wrong because so much stems from it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And it's the truth matters. And then, we proceed on the basis of what we understand. So we need to get this right and have a reckoning as to what the actual situation is at Kamloops.
When did you first start paying attention to the narrative coming out of Kamloops? What drew your attention to that? And how did you start questioning the 215?
Well, I've been studying the residential schools for a number of years after the Truth and Reconciliation report came out in 2015. So I was aware of a lot of misinformation that was being put out by various Aboriginal organizations about the residential schools at that time. So I was already skeptical of various claims. And I actually, if I can toot my own horn a little bit, was the first person to raise the alarm about this in a public event that I organized on July 10th, 2021. So that was actually 5 days before Sarah Bollier gave her presentation. And I had Rodney Clifton, Brian Giesbrecht, and the moderator was Paul Viminitz. And the title of that event was, "Can we discuss those unmarked graves?" And so we were already wondering about it, and we thought there might be an abandoned cemetery. That was the first thing that we thought. Brian Giesbrecht was saying that there's abandoned cemeteries all across the country. It's possible there was one in the apple orchard, but we discovered afterwards that it wasn't a cemetery because there's a cemetery on the Kamloops Reserve, the Kamloops Indian Band Reserve.
And was it the comments of the ground penetrating radar specialist lady, Sarah Bollier, that you mentioned that got you to start talking about this when she said that we can't confirm that it's human remains?
It was actually Nina Green. So there's an incredible researcher of the residential schools whose name is Nina Green. She contacted me after that event on July 10th. And then we saw the presentation that Sarah Bollier, the GPR operator, gave on July 15th. And it was Nina who really dissected that presentation that Bollier gave. And we started to understand that GPR is not conclusive at all about remains. It's, as a geoscientist that I've been interacting with tells me, it's a thing finder. So GPR determines if there's something there or maybe even just a difference in soil density. You have no idea what is beneath the soil when you look at those hits on the GPR.
So would you say that it's a fair statement to say that the whole 215 narrative that came out of Kamloops is not backed by any substantial evidence?
There's no evidence for the 215. In fact, it's highly improbable that there are burials at Kamloops because not one parent has said that their child never came home from the Kamloops Indian Residential School. And there was a very, very substantial investigation that the RCMP did in the 1990s. And in that investigation, there were no accounts coming forward about unmarked graves or bodies at Kamloops or anything. It's based entirely on the memories of what's called the knowledge keepers, which are highly unreliable accounts that are probably misremembering that occurred from 50, 60 years ago. So that's the whole basis for this claim, is that these highly unreliable oral testimonies.
So no substantial evidence, but the country was thrown into turmoil over this whole thing. What has been some of the most egregious things you've witnessed, or what would be some of the worst things that you think happened since that claim?
Well, there's been a lot of tragedy of people trying to speak out against it and getting canceled. Myself, first of all, and I still can't get reinstated at Mount Royal University because the arbitrator claims that there's friction between me and some of my colleagues, Jim McMurtry, and a number of other people have suffered. Dallas Brody. There were the flags at half-mast for 5 months. There were the memorials that continue to exist across the country. There were the churches that were vandalized or burnt to the ground. And there's just been a general assault on truth, finding out the truth about things. And it's very annoying now because I'm on a research group that has been investigating this for the last 4.5 years, spending serious work into this. And now we have people saying, oh, well, what does it matter that, that didn't happen? Like that kind of comments, like, excuse me, you've turned the country upside down for several years and all these kind of tragedies have happened in its wake. And not to mention all the legal disputes and the pushing through of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People and all sorts of other initiatives that no one would have really gone for if it hadn't been for this claim. And we need to have a reckoning. We must have all these institutions that were fomenting this falsehood. They must just make statements saying we kind of lost our heads a bit in May 2021, and there's no evidence that there are these remains on this site.
No evidence, yet it has thrown Canadian students on university campuses into an absolute frenzy to the point of assaulting you wherever you go, yelling, howling, screaming, not engaging in any actual tactics. And some of that has also resulted in you getting smeared by APTN.
That's great. Correct. The Aboriginal People's Television Network put out a program on December 6th, and they were there for both of the unfolding of events that happened at the University of Manitoba and the University of Winnipeg. Chris Reed interviewed me, an extensive interview at the University of Manitoba, which was an excellent interview, I might add. And to see the Aboriginal People's Television Network do such an unbelievable smear job based upon what they saw everything, is shocking.
Well, I watched a clip from their video, and I'm going to show it now here. It shows a woman describing you as hateful. She said that you laughed at her, which I found ironic because a clip I'll play later shows completely the opposite. So I'm going to play that clip now and have us react to it.
I sincerely felt that hate. I felt that ridicule. As a survivor, she laughed at us. She combated what we shared. Like, I shared my truth with her, and she combated that. Like, nobody does that. Justice Murray Sinclair said that Canadians need to listen to our stories. Like, our stories matter. And to her, our stories don't matter.
She says you laughed at her, and she said a whole bunch of other things too. And I found it amusing that they didn't actually play a clip of your voice saying any of the things that she said you did. So talk a little bit about what happened in that clip there.
So in that clip, first of all, her name's Geraldine Shingoose. She goes by this Grandma Shingoose, and she pretends to be this really daughtery old lady. There's Grandma. And she should be absolutely mocked. She was one of the people who assaulted me. She was, doing all sorts of terrible things at this event. And the laughing, this is something that APTN misrepresented. What happened is I had quite extensive discussions with Grandma Shingoose, and she was accusing me of being a bully and lying, saying she was lying. And I kept on saying to her, no, I'm not saying you're lying. I'm saying there's misremembering that's happening. Anyway, at that moment, my street epistemology mats had been stolen by a number of people, and one of them was Billy Joe Shingoose, who's Grandma's daughter. Michael Melanson, who's a member of my research group who was there, had found my mats and was bringing them forward to my left. And so as I was talking to Grandma Shingoose, she is just kind of muttering on about all these things, and so I wasn't really paying very much attention to her. I turned to my left, and you'll see I'm not looking at Shingoose, I'm looking to my left. I was just in ecstatic because my mats had just been found, and I was going to be able to do my exercise that I've been trying to do from the beginning, which was to discuss the claim by Negon Sinclair that residential school denialism is a barrier to reconciliation. So I was not laughing at Grandma Shingoose. I was ecstatic because I just saw that my mats were being brought to me by Michael Mellons.
That framing was very dishonest. But what I find hilarious is I actually went to their channel on YouTube and I watched the whole thing. And they literally show that you had been surrounded by a bunch of women students. I guess was Grandma there too?
She was one of the 7 assailants.
Where they show you being assaulted. I'm going to play that clip now so we can react to it.
Women present at the event gradually got into a circle around Widdowson.
She's pushing me! She's pushing! She threw herself on the ground! She threw herself down! You didn't see shit! She said that!
These guys are touching women.
She's on the ground and they're surrounding her. She's in a very vulnerable situation.
Now you better not touch our women. You better not touch our women.
You're an academic. You know what stochastic terrorism is. You know what you're doing. You know that you brought people here to hurt people. You brought people to the university to attack people. You're not welcome.
I sincerely felt that hate. I felt that ridicule.
The clip shows very clearly you being surrounded, kettled, assaulted, drinks being spilled on you, yet this grandma called you hateful.
Yeah, the hate there that day with people screaming at me, telling me I was a hick and all these things and screaming in my face. That was Billy Joe Shingoose, shaking this rattle really aggressively in front of my face. I endured endless taunting, and then that final thing when what happened is I could not break free of this circle. They were trying to remove me from campus. They just decided they're going to push me off campus. And so what I did, because I couldn't get out of that circle, I just sat on the ground and told them I thought they were deranged. And I was just going to wait till they calmed down. And then I lay down and said, I'm just going to take a nap while you guys just get control of yourselves. And it was just a bunch of complete crybabies, unbelievable crybabies, people who assault you, do all these horrible things. And then when anyone would try to help me, they would scream at them and tell them that they were the ones who were being attacked.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And for APTN to show all of these things without, showing more of a condemnation of what happened when I just wanted to discuss this claim by Negon Sinclair, who is the darling that they, have on there, who says that, people shouldn't listen to me because what I say is similar to denying that gravity exists. He is an absolute joke of an academic, just like Sean Carlton, the other one they have on there. They should be openly mocked because they have no business being academics in a university, because they are complete activists who have nothing worthwhile to say about this issue.
It was really disheartening to see students at a university campus acting like, for the lack of a better word, animals, just at the mere act of you wanting to have a simple conversation about this whole thing.
Yes, and they're being taught by Negon Sinclair and Sean Carlton, who are absolute jokes of academics. Then you have your administrators, like the person at UVic, Rabina Thomas, who congratulated those completely deranged individuals for how wonderfully they'd stood up with their orange shirts and supported one another during this very, very harmful and hateful time. All these administrators, get a grip.
Let me guess, no condemnation of the assaults and the violence from
None whatsoever. And in fact, offering supports, psychological supports for the poor people who were harmed by these words that they disagree with. You know,
So-
it is just an absolute embarrassment.
So words are harm and violence, but actual violence and actual assault is just fine and dandy with them.
And that's
It's
the
the
setup.
backwards. It's so
It's
backwards.
the setup. Is that you, because you're being so harmed and hurt by all this, your humanity is being denied. It's perfectly justifiable for you to do whatever assaults you think are necessary to stop these violent words.
Frances Widdowson, you are a brave, brave woman for going to these campuses, confronting these students with the knowledge, knowing that they will likely get violent with you. I commend you for doing the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. Really appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. To support the channel, please consider subscribing, smashing that like button, and leaving a comment. If you don't already, follow me on X. My handle is @catcanada_TM. And if you'd like to support the channel, I'm going to leave my support link in the description below of this video and in the pinned comment as well. Thanks again for watching.